What is up, my fellow mobile gamers? In today's video, we are talking about stats. Before we get started, subscribe to the channel for more mobile gaming content. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. If you're excited for Christmas, the holidays, if you just want to help support the channel, it is greatly appreciated. Also, we have some custom emotes and membership badges that I had made. Hit the join button to find out more information. Become a member. It is greatly appreciated. So let's go over the stats. So we have strength, dexterity, intelligence, constitution, agility, and wisdom. Now, depending on the class that you chose, some of these are going to benefit you more and some of these are going to be pretty much pointless. So for instance, if we take a look at strength, you'll notice we have melee damage, melee accuracy, melee critical hit, and weapon defense. Overall, honestly, you can tell that if your character does melee attacks, then this is something that you're going to want to put stat points into and buff this up to increase your damage, your accuracy, your critical hit, and of course weapon defense as well. And if we look at something like dexterity, you'll notice dexterity is for the ranged type classes. So for instance, the archer class. So if we take a look at here, we have range damage, range accuracy, range critical hit, double resistance. So here's in particular stat that I want to talk about: double. So double basically means that you get a attack off twice. It's a double attack. So imagine you do 5 base damage. If you see the word double pop up, it just means that your character performed a double attack. So that means instead of the 5 base damage, it would be doubled. So they would take 10 base damage. There is a less chance that you will receive a double attack from an enemy, and then increasing your double means you have a higher chance to do a double attack. And then we have intelligence. Intelligence is really good for your magic classes, your wizards or your orb class, because they focus on doing magic attacks, magic damage, magic accuracy. Constitution is universal, so any class can benefit from constitution. It'll increase your max HP recovery tick, this is over time, your defense, and your max weight. Next we have agility, attack speed, accuracy, melee evasion, ranged evasion, and magic evasion. This in particular stat can benefit all classes because of the evasion. An okay stat, but definitely more for like a ranger, like the archer class, the bow class, whatever you want to call it. And then finally we have wisdom. We have max MP, MP recovery, skill resistance, skill damage boost, and finally heal boost. This is an amazing stat if you are the orb class, which would be like the healing class, where you're going to be doing a lot of self-healing. Talk about in particular that the game doesn't really go over. These are actually like debuffs. So we have blind, temporarily blocks the target's sight and decreases the target's accuracy. The resistance factor for blind would just be blind plus CC resistance. Next we have is bleed. Bleed is just damage over time to the target, and it decreases the target's weapon block rate. The resistance factor is just straight up CC resistance. Then we have venom. Venom again just does damage over time, but the venom decreases the target's potion recovery rate and decreases the target's stun accuracy. Resistance factor will be CC resistance. So you'll notice CC resistance is a very, very strong stat. It will help you avoid a lot of these debuffs overall. Next we have slow. Slow just decreases the movement speed, attack speed, and cast speed. Again, the way to resist this would be to increase your CC resistance. Then we have stun, disables the target's movement actions, gear switch, escape, and teleport. Stun resistance plus level is the resistance factor. So the stun is actually slightly different. You actually need stun resistance, and then the level will also play an effect. Then we have fear. Fear disables the target's movement action, makes the target wander off aimlessly. So you'll notice they'll just kind of start walking around. Disables the target's salvation effect upon death. The resistance factor, straight up stun resistance plus level again. Shroud is a very, very strong debuff. Vex is a very, very important stat. Provokes the target to deal a basic attack and decreases the target's accuracy and all damage. So Vex is kind of like a taunt is the best way to kind of put it. Resistance factor, Vex resistance plus level. Blockade disables the target's basic attack. Blockade resistance plus level. Silence disables the target's skill use, so obviously they can't use any skills. Silence resistance and CC resistance can stop that upon taking a certain amount of damage. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you do freeze someone after a certain amount of damage, they will become unfrozen. You can't just tee off on them and just absolutely obliterate them. Overall, the best stats to buff are just going to be increasing stuff like your raw damage, increasing your attack speed, your cast speed if you are a magical person. Defense will lower the damage that you take. Evade means that you have a chance to completely evade the attack, which I think is absolutely amazing. Honestly, evade is a strong stat. If you can just completely evade it instead of taking less damage, I would say do that. So evade is definitely an important stat. Skill resistance definitely helps out a lot too, to stop with your opponent's skills for PvP. A lot of these stats are pretty obvious. Block penetration means you block their penetration. Penetration would be like the ability to penetrate through someone's armor or through someone's defense so that they do more damage. But it's very dependent on your play style and your class. I can't really say what you technically should or shouldn't do. I mean, just kind of keep it as obvious as you can. If you're a melee attacker, focus on buffing up your melee stats. But overall, accuracy is a very important stat. The double chance, it can be a very good stat because you can put out more damage. Is also pretty much universal. It doesn't matter what class you are. Every class will benefit from having a double go off. Every class wants to do double damage, 2 attacks instead of just doing 1. I mean, everyone wants that. So that's universal. Skill resistance is another universal stat, is good for all classes. Weapon damage is just straight up the amount of damage that your weapon does. And then extra damage is just literally what it says. It's just extra damage that you do. If you do pick the bow class or archer class, you'll have arrow damage. Right now mine says 0. This will change because I did a whole video where I talked about the classes. The archer gets extra arrow damage depending on the arrows you use. You also have your soul shot damage as well. If you go into your spirit, you can buff your soul shot effects right here by getting these crystals. That is it for today, folks. I hope you guys and girls enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, comment down below. I love you guys and girls. Have an amazing holiday. Stay happy, stay safe. Peace.